What a year it has been. What a race we have in front of us. As for one final time in 2025, we await the green flag, and now we are racing in Nashville. It's a great start for Lundgaard, having a look up the inside. But Palou screams around the outside of David Malukas and takes second place immediately at the start.
We were 4 wide further back. A car is going around in the wall.
Rasmussen, the first time winner, last time out. He's a win it or bin it driver. And this time, he's in the wall and out before we've even completed a lap.
Looking all the way at the back here, Christian Rasmussen in the 21. As you said, James, they fanned out in front of him, but there's so much dirty air for Rasmussen's car, and he just loses it.
Just has a twitch in the middle of the pack.
On board now from Christian's car.
We are back to racing ways as Scott Dixon has a look up the inside of David Malukas. And the Penske's go wide, and we go 4 wide down into turn 1. That's a great move from Scott McLaughlin. Lovely stuff.
Joseph Newgarden there in the red and white car, seizing opportunity. Scott McLaughlin in the red and white car goes to third. Impressive restart as Dixon jumped Malukas, but Malukas now to the high side.
Guys, I'm loving what Malukas is able to do up in that second lane.
Oh, and here comes the champion. Alex Palou looking to go round the outside of Pato O'Ward and take the lead away from his championship rival. They run side by side. Palou with the high line.
That's 2 full laps side by side. And the guy that wants this to end is Scott McLaughlin, because he's got pace, but he's got nowhere to go when they're running side by side like this in front.
Did they touch? That was so tight. Oh! And Alex Palou has a flat front right. Our man from second place has to bring this in.
Yep, copy.
Right here.
He's slowing.
He feels it.
You can see he's slowing. That is dexterous feel.
Side by side with Malukas. Oh, that's dicey stuff.
The AJ Foyt driver, who may become a Penske driver in 2026, keeps the momentum, and has he put Scott McLaughlin now into the clutches of Alex Palou? There is talk that he is Penske bound to replace Will Power next year. How much does he need a good result today? How much would a podium? Oh, as Foster goes high. And almost, oh no! Oh no! And that is Foster not willing to give that position. A rookie ultimately getting into David Malukas.
That kid is such an...
As he tried to get through. Back to racing, and Dixon immediately on the move and alongside Colton Herta. It's a great start for Dixon. And Palou taking the fight to McLaughlin to regain second position and go back after Pato O'Ward. We sit on board with McLaughlin. That is the champion beneath us. McLaughlin will have to run high and takes the position back.
Still side by side.
And Power takes Newgarden. Fabulous stuff for P4.
Go low.
Palou stays low. Power runs high.
All clear.
Has the slipstream and has the position. And now Will Power going for P2 on Colton Herta. Already a race winner this year. Will Power now moves into second place. Disaster for the race leader. Pato O'Ward is out. Yeah, front right. Yeah, he's still laminated before he hits the wall.
Will Power came into his pit box a little bit hot. They had to roll him back. He's going to go to the hard tires, but much happier with his car than yesterday. He's been on an absolute tear, but this is a long stop for Will Power. And he stalls it.
We are green. Rossi slams the hammer down. Goes now. And look at the start from the two Penskes, taking their teammate Will Power, who will drop to the rear of the field as everybody now slides past him.
Yeah, big issues for Will Power. I wonder if it's gearbox as they're side by side. That's Palou and McLaughlin.
Guys, is that Connor Daly going 3 wide on the high side? I think it is.
You bet it is.
Side by side with Kirkwood now into
Oh!
McLaughlin and Newgarden make it through Graham Rahal. Palou will try to do the same. Armstrong will try to follow him.
Rasmussen pulled it off at Milwaukee. Now Newgarden goes low.
And he goes to the inside. Rossi will not be able to defend. The lead belongs to Joseph Newgarden.
New hard tyre compounds going on. They spent the early part of this race dialing that car in. Luke Mason told me he was happy, and a happy Joseph Newgarden is normally a really fast one. And staying on this, Marcus Armstrong feels like he's having just one of those days that he's had all season. A little under the radar, but remember, his last podium came on an oval.
Joseph Newgarden sliding way long, like his teammate Will Power did earlier. Caitlin Brown, the left front tire changer on the number 2 car, doing a brilliant job to adjust and not lose her driver any time as Alex Palou goes by. And guys, Alex Palou's going to go ripping by McLaughlin. So with the lead group, that is effectively the
race
move.
lead. That is race lead.
And here comes Newgarden now.
Oh! And his teammate won't let him through.
There he goes. He's got to run.
Little wiggle from Palou.
McLaughlin looks high, will run high. Palou squeezes, and McLaughlin goes. Goes now, goes high, goes wide, goes to the lead. McLaughlin P1 in Nashville. They can turn around the woes of 2025 with one final hurrah. Newgarden on the inside, and that was easy. So easy for Joseph Newgarden. It's second place for him.
Can those soft tires hang on to the end? Does that grip level stay? Oh, he goes high. He goes way high.
McLaughlin really high and into the wall.
He might be okay. He barely touched it. They banged the yellow light early.
He launches now. McLaughlin goes with him. Look at Palou. Look at Kiffin Simpson. Brilliant start from the Ganassi driver, both of them. And Alex Palou up and on the inside, having a look at McLaughlin, the champion, immediately to the fore and immediately to second.
McLaughlin not knowing how much to trust his car after that, but that waltz out potential damage. Now Simpson trying to go for third.
Simpson on McLaughlin. That is brave and gutsy from him. It's beautiful. McLaughlin runs high. Simpson runs low, and Simpson now has the place.
Clear. Reset your tools here. Let's go.
Meanwhile, Robert Schwartzman,
Oh, you're kidding me.
who's in the battle for Rookie of the Year, just is going to get a drive-through penalty for blocking Santino Ferrucci.
Let's take a look at a replay of this. Here is Ferrucci. Oh, and that is pretty bad. It is 2 to go, and every position still up for grabs. The final lap of the race. Joseph Newgarden leads. The gap over Alex Palou is minuscule. Simpson defends from McLaughlin, but Joseph Newgarden will awaken from what has been a nightmare year to the most beautiful dream. It will be a win at home in Nashville for Joseph Newgarden. Not just a win, but a win at home in Nashville. And he is doing what he so desperately wanted to do in Indianapolis. He will celebrate, not just with any crowd, but with his crowd.
Yeah, it's just been, it's rewarding. It's rewarding for our team. They've done a great job. Obviously, Will won in Portland, which was a huge lift for everybody, and he really deserved it. And I think he could have won this race today. It was a shame to see what happened to him. He's a legend. I was on the radio. I was like, you guys see Will? What a legend. But it's great for our team, Stemo, Team Chevy. So, tough year, but good to get a win here at the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a exciting finish at the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix, and what an exciting finish we had to cap off the 2025 NTT INDYCAR Series. As usual, welcome this evening. This is the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and what a great show that we have in store for everyone this evening that is tuned in on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. A huge thank you to everyone that has done that so far. Hopefully the numbers grow as the show unfolds. But obviously we will discuss and recap what took place this past Sunday in Nashville. Obviously, all three of us were there, so we all three have some different opinions about things. We'll touch on those this evening. Obviously, Michael will go over his winners and losers. We have driver interviews. Kudos to Michael for getting some interviews for us, not only on the NTT INDYCAR Series side, but on INDYNXT as well, the winner of the INDYNXT race on Sunday. Got to talk to him. We'll go over results, final point standings, and race picks. And a caveat to that, a clinical or critical or clerical, I guess it's probably the word I want to use, clerical error on my part, but we have an interesting finish here in the race picks for 2025. And then at later in the evening, towards the middle of the show, Don Cusick of Cusick Motorsports is going to join us to talk about his exciting announcement that was made last week about Cusick Motorsports going forward in the INDYNXT by Firestone series, and then some interesting news. If you've been away from a computer or a mobile device, interesting news that has abound here in the last few hours or so. We'll get to that as well. But before we do all that, let's bring in the other two co-hosts that make this show actually run here on the Push to Pass podcast. First, let me bring in Josh. Josh, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm doing good. It was a heck of a weekend, and can't wait to get into our notes and news and talk about how this weekend was.
Yeah, absolutely exciting weekend. A lot to talk about, lots to discuss. Also, Michael, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm trying to get back on schedule. I'm burnt, so everyone keeps telling me I'm burnt. I don't know if they didn't think I knew that I wasn't burnt, but yeah, it's been an interesting few days, and ready to get back into a normal routine and ready to talk some IndyCar.
Not quite sure what your normal routine is, but yeah, I hope it's not going to bed at 8 o'clock. Hope that's not your normal routine. But aside from that, yes, it is time to talk IndyCar. A lot to go over and dissect here, as we just completed our third year on the Push to Pass podcast, and like I said in the open, all three of us were able to make the trip to it's not technically Nashville, it is Lebanon, Tennessee. So all three of us were able to make that trip. And before we get into our takeaway segment, kind of curious to get a synopsis from both of you. All three of us have never been to the Nashville Superspeedway. So Josh, what was your impressions when you walked away on Sunday?
It's a clean race. It's a clean racetrack. It's the media center is on the inside, just like Indy. They don't have a tunnel that goes underneath the track. They're at the start finish line like Indy does. But so you have to, if you want to go around to the front stretch, you have to either catch a golf cart or make a trek over there. It was classy. I loved everything about it. Media room. I think from listening to some of the other people that have covered this race, it was changed a little bit to make the configuration a little bit bigger for people. The catering was great. They had a local barbecue place come in and cater, so that was some delicious stuff. My biggest takeaway from this entire track was just it was clean. It was the stands were full to my knowledge that I saw, and it seemed like everyone had a good time. And on a side note, just some advice: if you ever buy an adult drink, double check and make sure it's what you ordered before you actually take a drink.
Oh, that's good, Josh. I'm glad you remembered that. That was definitely a highlight of the weekend for sure. Saturday night, yes, was very fun. We'll let Derik explain his experience to everyone. But the one thing that is very shocking to me about this race weekend is how, like Josh said, the racetrack is clean. Like the grandstands were clean, the facility was really clean. It reminded me of Indianapolis, just very clean. You didn't see a lot of trash blowing around or anything like that. But the facility itself is in really good shape. So was really excited to be at Nashville. First NASCAR track that I've been at covering media side of things. So they were gracious. Everyone there was very nice, treated us well, and can't ask for much more from the track as far as the media side of things.
Yeah, I will agree with what both Josh and Michael said about the track and all of the hospitality that came along with it. Yeah, if you didn't get to catch a golf cart, you were really in for a long walk for sure. But luckily, we were all able to catch those. So grateful for all those golf cart drivers that took us around from one side of the track to the other. And to what Josh said, yeah, definitely Saturday night was definitely an experience. And a hard lesson was learned there, unfortunately, that as Josh alluded to, make sure if you ever order an adult beverage, make sure that before you drink it, if you question that what they brought to you is not right, don't take a drink out of it. He's absolutely right there, and we'll leave it at that. But let's get into and recap again what was an exciting finish to the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix, and what was another exciting finish in the 2025 NTT INDYCAR Series. If you're new here, we go over 5 takeaways. These are 5 takeaways I have. My 5 opinions, I guess, is what you could basically boil it down to. You can find these. They're always posted up over at yournews.com under the auto racing section. But let's get into it. My 5th takeaway from the race, and obviously this kind of has, I guess, came to fruition. We were wondering when this was going to happen, and now it has. But was Sunday the last time that we were going to see Will Power in a IndyCar for Penske? And obviously we'll get into it later in the show, but if you've been paying attention, the news came down today that it would be. But like I said, the $1 million question that a lot of us in the media, in the paddock, were talking about was when the checkered flag dropped on Sunday's race, was this going to be the last time that we seen Will Power don the Team Penske and Verizon colors? Obviously, heading into the race, there was a lot of chatter week in and week out in the paddock about Power's future. And now, as that first domino fell today, and a lot more, there could be a lot of movement within the next few months, and we'll discuss that later in the race. But obviously, we did find out, guys, today. This is or Sunday was Will Power's last ride for Penske.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a shocker. It's been widely speculated that this was going to be his last his last race, his last season with Penske, because his contract was up after Nashville, and there's there were subtle hints. Some we'll talk about later on. I'd like to save some of my context for later on when we actually sit down and dive deeper into this. But it's as my thing down here says, parting is such sweet sorrow for a man that's given so much into this sport. to to not be able to finish out with the team that he's given so much to is a little bit wrong to me, but I'm definitely sure, and from the speculation, this will not be his last race, his last IndyCar race, but it will be his last one for Penske. So it wasn't a shocker, but it still kind of stung whenever it was actually announced today.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of bittersweet. When I first got into IndyCar, I picked Will Power to be my driver. I actually still have some merchandise from Will Power and things like that. So for me, it's kind of bittersweet, but at the same time, I did walk with about 7 or 8 different media members down pit road and into the paddock area this weekend after the race with Will. And the one word that I can describe him through that entire walk was grateful. He's grateful to Roger, grateful to everyone that's helped him at the Penske organization. And, he's won 2 championships in Indy 500. He's won quite a bit with them. Obviously, he's, the record setter and poles in the INDYCAR series. So he's very grateful, and we'll just have to wait and see and kind of work through what he'll do next. But there's a lot of rumors out there and a lot of speculation, so we'll save that for later on.
Rumors are definitely running rampant. I have a few, I wouldn't say rumors, but a little bit of insight that I teased the guys with earlier today. We'll talk about that there later in the program. But yes, I think Josh hits the nail on the head. Bittersweet, but Will Power's been around long enough. He knows this is a business, and obviously Roger thought that he needed to make a business move, and the move has been made, and there's wide speculation and chatter who it's going to be, and like I said, we'll talk on that a little bit here in our news and notes section. All right, my fourth takeaway from this weekend's race, and this is everybody's favorite topic to talk about, especially Josh's, but tire problems. As you noticed in the opening video, a few drivers were unfortunately their days were ended due to tire failure on Sunday. Last week's winner, or 2 weeks ago, Christian Rasmussen in the number 21 Splenda Stevia Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter wasn't even able to complete one lap when the rear end gave out, and he ended up hitting the safer barrier in turn 2. And then the pole sitter and the individual that led a race high 116 laps, Pato Award, which we'll hear from here later on, had his own race ended when a flat right tire forced him into the safety barrier again in turn 2. So obviously, guys, tires were a big issue and played a big part in last Sunday's race, and it definitely changed the outcome of the winner for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Pelot was on a rocket ship. He was going fast, and then that tire just blew, and along with it blew my chances to win the Pick'em Challenge this year. So it's with that track being concrete, it's hard to tell. Was it the tire? Did the tire degradation was he hitting spots on the concrete that were just tearing his tires up? Was that just a bad tire? It's a shame that in 2025 we cannot figure out a tire combination compound that will stand up throughout an entire race. I know they had to go from they had tire requirements. So most everyone started on the primaries. I believe there were 2 that started on the alternates. So was the tire strategy part of it? I don't know, but it was it's a shame that these races keep coming down to people blowing tires.
Okay, so tires, they're fun. They're fun to deal with. But at the same time, if you look at it, there was only 2 drivers that had tire issues that actually failed. And walking down pit road after the race, hearing a couple of tire specialists talk about it, it sounds like they just pushed a little too hard to start with. It sounded like you had to bring these tires in gradually. But as we'll hear in a little bit, Pato Award had some explanation to some of the tire issues. Sounds like it's a heat-related thing. They're just building too much heat. But yeah, it's definitely something that Firestone will look at. Yes, Josh, you're accurate. You're accurate on that statement about most of the drivers starting on the primary tires. Only 2 started on the soft alternate tires. So I actually like the two tires strategies, the 2 different tire compound strategies, especially at ovals. It kind of just throws a little bit of a wrench into things and kind of makes it a little bit more exciting for the fans to kind of follow that, like the strategy side of the IndyCar series. So, Derik, you brought up Christian Rasmussen, but I don't think he actually had a tire failure. I don't think there's any tire failure on his car. I think he just got in a dirty wake there.
Yeah, so hopefully, Firestone definitely takes a long, hard look into this, and maybe you'll create a tire that won't take out drivers during the race at super speedways, particularly at Nashville, in 2026. All right, my third takeaway from this past Sunday's race, I felt that it was a disappointing finish of the season for Arrow McLaren. And Josh knows this and Michael knows this as well, but during the last weekend of a season, this is where teams try to salvage any momentum that they can gain and take it with them into next season. But I thought after Sunday, Arrow McLaren maybe wanted to turn the page on 2025 as quickly as possible. We just touched on Pato Award and his tire issues, which forced him to retire, and he finished 24th. Christian Lundgaard in the number 7 Velo Arrow McLaren Chevrolet had an opportunity heading into the weekend to clinch 3rd place in the point standings, but unfortunately due to a mechanical issue that forced him to retire, and he finished 25th. But amazingly, Arrow McLaren's best finish was by their youngest driver, and maybe the one that we've scrutinized the most on the show, Nolan Siegel in the number 6 NTT Data Arrow McLaren Chevrolet, which brought home a 17th place finish. So, overall, this year, Arrow McLaren definitely, in my opinion, couldn't wait to turn the page to 2026.
Yeah, seems like the same story, same song for Arrow McLaren that we've covered in the last 2 years. They have their bright spots. They have hurrah moments. Pato winning, and picking up other wins, but they can't seem to be consistent. They can't seem to be consistent as Ganassi is, as Penske has been in the past. To be able to bring them up and make them one of the big dogs. And consistently. I mean, they're a big dog just because they have the money that they can put into their program. But the consistency needs to come with it. They need to go to the drawing board this off season and figure out what they can do, who they need to move around. Do they need to acquire a new driver? Because is Siegel going to stay? He probably will. I'm not sure. We've talked about that, but they have to figure out what is going on, why they can't stay consistent. And hopefully 2026 will be better for them. Maybe some people moving and going different places will make out some different views.
Yeah, Arrow just ended with a bang and one in the wall. And I listened to Lundgaard's onboard, and I couldn't tell if it was a turbo issue or a gearbox issue. And maybe I'm totally wrong on both, but it definitely didn't sound good from that side of things. So those two, obviously, Pato leading a race high, number of laps was really good. Lundgaard was up there before, he had his issues, but yet again, we talk about Nolan Siegel, and at what point is he going to, make that car better? Because his teammates are running great most weekends, and he's still back there in the mid-teens. So at some point, he's going to have to make that switch to getting that car into the top 10 consistently. Otherwise, Zach Brown and everyone at Arrow McLaren are definitely going to have to make a change there. And also going into this offseason, they're going to be moving into a new shop. Maybe that will help them out a little bit. I know their shop they have now is smaller. It's kind of cramped. I think it was originally only for 2 cars, and they've thrown a third car in there. And obviously for the 500, they have 4 cars. So pretty tight facilities there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Aaron McLaren obviously couldn't wait to turn the page, and hopefully they have a better year in 2026. But speaking of a better year, our guest coming on now, friend of the show, all of us have had the opportunity to meet this fine gentleman, and some interesting news that broke last week on the show here. We knew we had an announcement coming. We just didn't know what it was. He was so tight-lipped on it that I tried as hard as I could, fellas, to try to crack the seal on this announcement, but I had to wait like everybody else did, and it came out last week. And you know what? I'll let Don talk about it. Special guest, Don Cusick of Don Cusick Motorsports. Don, I can't imagine the hell of a week that you've had for the past week or so.
It's a lot of fun, you guys. Hi, everybody. Good to see y'all again. Thanks for having me on. Always appreciate it. Great week. We got to make that announcement. I wish I could have told you a little sooner, but you know how those things go. But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, like I said, I tried, fellas, the night before to get this.
You did.
And if I can use the exact words what Don used, he said that IndyCar would have his head on a platter if he was to tell me exactly what was going down. But Don, you got to be excited. I know this has been a long time coming. I know the interest that you have in IndyCar is through the roof, but now being able to take the next step and get to INDYNXT next year and what you're going to do there. Tell the audience a little bit of what your role is going to be, Cusick Motorsports next year in INDYNXT by Firestone.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Look, I think first and foremost for us, it's great to be able to run full season. We want to do that in IndyCar. We're working on that right now. Maybe some announcements in the next couple of weeks that are exciting. And Derik, I promise if there are, I'll let you in on some of the secrets. But first and foremost, we were glad to sign that deal. Henry and Mike at HMD have been unbelievable. Billy Morgan, who is my partner in Cusick Motorsports, has done a fantastic job of putting all the nuts and bolts together. So much appreciation to all of them. But like I said, for us, it's great because we're going to be in the IndyCar paddock full time. INDYNXT for sure. We'll see about IndyCar. And it's a great way for us to experience full-time racing. It's a great way for our partners and our sponsors to be introduced to IndyCar. It's a stepping stone, so a little bit less expensive for those that just want to get a little taste of what racing is and what it can do for their business before they get to the big show. So all in all, I think it's the right time and the perfect platform for us.
We did see, Don, that you did have a car in the INDYNXT by Firestone this past weekend with Davey Hamilton Jr. me and Michael both seen it. We were excited to see that logo plastered all over that car. Definitely love the fact of what you're doing, getting into INDYNXT by Firestone full time. But how did this come about? It seemed like obviously you've kept this on the wraps for quite a long time. But how did this come about? How did this deal come about with HDM Motorsports?
A lot of it was, behind the scenes stuff. Doug Bowles helped us out. I'm sure Roger indirectly had a hand in it, but introductions were made to Kirk over at INDYNXT and to Henry at HMD. We went out to the HMDs to their new factory or their new race shop out in Indy. Toured the facility. It's beautiful. Got to know Henry and his wife. Got to meet Mike, who was just a super guy, really smart guy, and real straight up, and just we all hit it off. It doesn't happen often where I think you walk into a situation where everybody just gets along and it makes sense. So that's kind of how it started. Really at Indy this year. For us, that's part of the reason we try to be at Indy every year, is because you make these connections, and I think every year that we run there, we get a little more street cred, if you will. So they knew us kind of, and we knew them, and we all got together, and that's what planted the seed. And then Billy and Mike worked really hard to put all the necessary pieces together, and so here we are.
Don, we were obviously excited because we only get to see you in the month of May, and now being able to maybe see you more on a regular basis definitely is your knowledge of racing and your knowledge of being an owner is definitely going to be something that the INDYNXT is definitely going to fall in love with. But something you talked about earlier, you talked about sponsorship, and it's no secret that to be a successful team, it takes money to do. There's no two ways around it. Since you've announced what your plans are next year, have there been sponsors that want to renew with INDYNXT, or have you gotten new sponsors that are interested in IndyCar and the product and how they can sponsor a car?
Yeah, so some of both. Candidly, we're going to definitely come back with last year's sponsors. They all want to be a part of it again. We do have a new sponsor. We're not quite ready to announce yet, but major. And that sponsor will more than likely work with us through IndyCar and INDYNXT. So that's good. It does, signing a deal this early, or I guess late in the season, but now early in the season, right? We signed it, I think, 2 days before the last race, which gives us a lot of runway. That's important because it does take time to cultivate the relationships and talk through all the details and get somebody to sign on. So we're excited because we have this whole huge runway. We're going to do a big event in Thermal for some of the sponsors. And, I think the extra time that we have is going to be great. So to answer your question, yes, the old sponsors are coming back, and then we've got a whole group of new people, but one pretty significant one in particular, and we're excited about that.
Definitely love to hear that, because we, on this show week in and week out, we talk about how IndyCar needs to expand and find more sponsors, and the more sponsors you find, the more eyeballs you're going to get on the sport. So that is definitely good news to hear. Josh, Michael, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, and you have any questions for Don?
I do want to say, we appreciate you guys so much, because having us on the show and talking about us and mentioning our sponsors, that's all part of a greater package, and it really, really helps. So what you guys are doing contributes to our success, and we deeply appreciate that.
Yeah, Donna, thanks for coming on, and congratulations on this huge announcement. I mean, this is
Thank you, Josh.
when you came on a couple years ago and you talked about your love of racing, and I could just tell, the exuberance in your voice and how you have a passion for this, and how you talked about when you sold your business and you told your wife that you were or it was either you or your wife said, hey, let's go get a membership at the Thermal Club, and how that was just lit up in your eyes. So I know how important this is to you and how excited you are. You don't have to tell me who it is, but I hear there's going to be 2 drivers you're going to have. Do you guys have prospectus of who you're going to have as your drivers? And is it someone that's currently in the INDYNXT, or is it somebody from the outside?
So it's a great question, and I'm not trying to be evasive, but I will tell you that there is a really good slate of applicants, some of them with recognizable last names, and perhaps one of the current racers, and that will depend on what happens with IndyCar. We have not made any decisions yet, or I'd be very pleased to tell you who they were. But I will tell you that there's a lot of interest, and there's a lot of good people that we're talking to. And I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll make those decisions and be able to share that with you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My other question is, do you have your Winnebago all ready to go from race to race? Driving around, sitting with all the other owners. Up at night, eating caviar, drinking champagne.
Yeah, I don't know about that part, but we're actually right in the middle of negotiating a deal on a coach. So I haven't pulled the trigger yet. We're still a few things we've got to work out, but the answer is yes. I got the green light from the wife, and by the way, she is the one that green lighted the Thermal Club and all that. That was her idea. But yeah, she green lighted the coach and the whole deal. So yeah, we'll be in the parking lot. It may be macaroni and cheese and hot dogs, but we'll be there.
That's awesome. Thanks again for coming on, Don. I'm gonna hand it over to Michael, and congratulations and good luck next year. Hopefully, you could pull off a great thing and bring home a championship.
Oh, that'd be some fun. Yeah, we'll settle for finishing races and work our way up. But thanks, Josh. I really appreciate it. Always good to chat with you.
Hey, Don. Yeah, thank you for coming on. I kind of talked to you at Indy about, hey, when are you going to get you in the paddock more often? And you kind of hinted at something coming, and it's good to hear this announcement. But the one big, I guess I have a couple of questions. So, but sure. The first one is how much goes into this organization, merging or kind of helping them work with HMD, and then how much does, you talked about Henry and Mike, how much do they, support this effort and help on the backside of things?
They're huge support. Mike and Henry have been great. I talk to Henry every so often. We talk with Mike almost every day as we lead into this. But they're tremendous. I mean, they're great individuals. Mike's racing knowledge and knowledge of the series is really top line. And so yeah, we're grateful for that. Billy and Mike talk several times a day, and it's been great. It's really been great.
And then another question with this coming up is your Indy 500 perspectives. Looking at previous years, you've worked with Dennis Reinbold and everyone at Reinbold, with Dennis Reinbold. Is that something you're going to continue to do, or is this something that maybe might get HMD involved in the Indy 500?
So yeah, I mean, all of that is true. I will tell you that HMD has an interest in becoming an IndyCar team, so that's good. They're also working on some IMSA stuff, so that's kind of interesting for us. I talked to Dennis Reinbold this morning. He's doing great. Love Dennis and Brett and the crew over there. They've got some things they're working on, and I think we'll be announcing fairly soon. But I think there's a good chance that we'll be back on at least one of the DRR cars. And then also got some news that we'll be on another team's car this year and working on something for full season. So we've kind of evolved into a company that's putting drivers with teams and sponsors with teams and things of that nature. So it's been kind of fun. A lot of different things going on. The next couple of weeks are going to be super busy, but there's going to be a lot of news too, I think.
So you kind of touch on that with kind of bringing the drivers and the sponsors. Would you say Cusick Motorsports more now is like on the management side of things as well as the racing side of things?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think what we do best is introduce people, bring sponsors, interact with fans, do the activations. I think that's what we're really, really good at. The racing portion of it is not something that we have experience in, but I think we're going to get a hell of an education in the next 2 years with HMD.
Well, it's always great to have new people and full-time roles in the sport. And if you ever need help activating, Josh, Derik, and I'm sure we'll be glad to help activate the racetrack.
I love having you guys around. So we'll definitely have those conversations. We're still sorting through a lot of the stuff that needs to be done. But you guys would always be a welcome addition.
Don, you definitely have, from listening to you in this conversation, you definitely have a lot of irons in the fire.
There's a lot,
they say. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you, as you always have when I've reached out to you to come on here to talk about an entry for the 500 or the announcement that you made last week for Cusick Motorsports. So I want to thank you for always taking time out of your busy schedule, obviously, as you've laid out to come on here and speak with us for a few minutes. Anything else that you want to say about the announcement that you made or things that you got coming up here?
Well, I just want to say it's my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. Again, it makes a difference. Just the exposure and the added credibility that you guys lend. Very, very helpful. So thank you guys. No, we're excited. I think the next couple of weeks there's going to be a lot of news coming down the pike, and happy to share that with you guys as it comes forward. We're getting ready for our thermal season, so that's fun. Looking forward to that. We kick off, I think our first club race is October the 12th, so I'll get back behind the wheel, and that's always fun. But no, we're here for you. So, as news comes available, happy to come back on and share that, and just want to thank you guys for everything you do.
Don, as always, like I said, huge thank you from all of us here at the Push to Pass podcast for allowing us a little bit of your time to share some exciting news. And definitely there's big things ahead, obviously, with you and with Cusick Motorsports. And we're going to be right there with you to talk about them and to enjoy them. But Don, I know you got to run. We'll talk again. But again, from all of us, huge congratulations, and definitely look forward to the big 2026 that you and everyone at Cusick Motorsports has coming up.
Great, thanks. Glad you guys are a part of it.
Thanks, Don. Have a good night.
So, like I said,
right.
huge congratulations, obviously, goes out to Don Cusick and everyone that is involved with Cusick Motorsports. This has definitely been something, as he talked about, that has been in the works for quite a long time. Obviously, the right dominoes have to fall in the right areas for things of this nature to work out, and obviously they have, and definitely all of us can't wait to see the impact that Cusick Motorsports has in the INDYNXT by Firestone series in 2026. All right, we're going to open back up the takeaways from this weekend. I know Michael's got his winners and losers. Getting back to the takeaways, my second takeaway from the race on Sunday, and I've mentioned this, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I know on our way to Nashville. We all talked about this as well as I brought this up, but I asked the question. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the direct answer or even ask the question to Alex Palou. But what is left for Palou to do in the NTT INDYCAR Series? If anyone deserves an offseason, it has to be the reigning, defending, three-time straight NTT INDYCAR Series champion and current Indianapolis 500 winner, Alex Palou. Coming off a season where Alex absolutely just flat out dominated. 8 wins, 6 NTT P1 awards, 14 top 5 finishes, and 15 top 10 finishes. So the only conclusion that I can draw, and I talked to you guys about this, is the only thing left for Alex Palou, in my opinion, to accomplish, and I know I can't wait to hear from either one of you. It has to be the single season wins record, which, by the way, is at 10. Thoughts?
I doubt that that's in his brain. I mean, going forward, I know he probably had it eyed this year because he was so dominant, like you said, with 8 wins and 2, I believe the last 2 races he finished in second place. So, I mean, it could have been. But I don't know if that's really that's one of those goals that you put out there, but sometimes you don't think it's actually attainable, because and with only 19 races, there should be more, I think, but with only 19 races, that you got to be almost perfect to be able to beat that, because that would mean to break the record, you would have to win 11 races. And I mean, I know he did 8 this year, but that's just astronomical. It's a goal, but I don't think it's something that would keep him in IndyCar. If his one passion that he wants to do and his one goal is to get into F1, which we've speculated that that's what it is, then I don't think there's anything that's going to keep him, outside. The only thing that's going to keep him there is if he can't get a ride. If he can't get a ride and he can't, because he still has to go get his super license. As Colton Herta, that's the hurdle for Colton Herta, is he still has to get his super license. And as I was informed today, IndyCar races don't count. They count very little for the super license. So he would have to go over and figure out a way to get his super license. But your observation of the only thing that keep him there is the single season win record. I don't think that's not what would keep him there. The only thing that would keep him there is if he can't find a ride over an F1.
Josh, actually, Alex Palou does have enough points to obtain a super license. I actually believe he has a super license, if I'm not mistaken. So for him to get an F1 ride would be to sign a contract, and if that's something he wants to do, then with the rumors swirling that everyone keeps shooting down, but we talked about on the way to Nashville with the whole McLaren situation that Alex Palou is still currently litigating. Why would he want anyone to know anything before he actually pulls the trigger and actually signs that contract and has that deal done before anything's announced? So, if that's something he wants to do, then obviously, that he probably could. I'm sure there's a team out there that would be interested in his talent and what he's done in the IndyCar series. But to get back to the IndyCar series, I think he just wants to win, and right now he's winning. So, we talked about it. Wins what's important, and you focus on the next race. The last race is done and over with. So, I think for him, the next thing he wants to do is go win St. Pete. I think that's on his list.
Yeah, and I think you both have very valid points. But Michael, great lead into the first takeaway from Sunday and Joseph Newgarden. You talk about needing a win and wanting to win. Joseph Newgarden getting off the Schneid there, as obviously it's well known that Newgarden is a native of Nashville. So what a way to get his first win and get off that Schneid, getting a win in front of the hometown folks. Now, while I was writing this, I did not know this, but with Joseph's win on Sunday, he broke a 20-race drought dating back to August 24th of August 2024, by earning his first victory in 2025 and his 32nd victory in his career, edging the aforementioned Alex Palou by 0.5021 of a second. So Newgarden getting off the Schneid, a lot of talk about him as well, and a little bit of eyebrow raise on a piece of information that I heard about Joseph Newgarden today. I'll touch on that later. But, Joseph Newgarden getting off the Schneid in front of the hometown folks on Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't think Newgarden I didn't think he stood a chance to win. I thought it was Pato all the way, or it could have been Malukas. But it was a bittersweet victory for him. It was, it was the end to one of the worst seasons that he's had in his IndyCar career, and to be able to do it in front of his hometown crowd, he did his patented I'm gonna go into the stands. I think had somebody not told him not to go up there, I bet he would have ran up every single flight of that stadium, of that grandstands, just to shake everyone's hand. That was there, and he probably had a huge rooting contingency with him being a native of Tennessee. So it was one heck of a win for him. He was able to take the lead and didn't give it up, even though there were contenders coming up behind him. But he was just able to keep his line, and one heck of a win for him. And we always, as we keep talking about, there's momentum. You end on a high note going into the next season. That's something you can build off of. So I know he's looking forward to St. Pete. Actually, he's probably looking forward to having a good vacation, spending time with his family, and then at the beginning of the year, he'll focus back in and get St. Pete on his brain, and hopefully he's hoping he can turn this season into an afterthought next year.
Yeah, Newgarden, the bullet I saved for last. That's who I picked to win the race, and I had a feeling you're not gonna keep Team Penske down. You kind of see that with the leadership change there. Kind of took a couple of weeks. Power obviously won at Portland, and all three of the cars were really fast this weekend. So. Newgarden winning was kind of a surprise, but not overly surprising. Just concrete track, oval, Newgarden. So, I mean, it's definitely a way to go out on top. It's showing management, that the things they're doing, the things they've implemented have kind of changed the program around. Because I feel like before Indy, they were there and they were competing well, and then once Indy come, it was just disorganization and no leadership. It was kind of like the ship, without a captain situation going on. And, obviously got some leadership in there, and things kind of turned around towards the end of the year. So we'll have to see what happens in 2026. Long way away, though.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, we've talked about on here. What is Penske going to look like in 2026? Obviously, we know one driver's not coming back, and they're going to have a lot of crew changes, I feel. And then, again, a little bit of information as well that I heard today on another driver that may be looking elsewhere. We'll wait and see for that. But, yeah, a lot of things that are going to happen here in this silly season that really officially got kicked off today, and we'll talk about that later. But before that, Michael does have his winners and losers from Sunday.
Yeah, well, I'm going to change it up. Let's start with the losers this week. I had McLaren on my list just for the obvious, mechanical failure, kind of out of their hands, but still something that happens. Obviously, Pato's tire failure, and then mostly just Nolan Siegel cannot get it going. I don't know if another year will help him or not, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Obviously, we talk about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, but Christian Rasmussen, from hero last week to zero this week, lap one incident, hits the wall and crashes. Actually have Will Power on the loser list, literally because of the pit stop. Kind of had that lead there after, Pato crashed, and then that pit stop, he slid through the box, tire changer couldn't get the left front tire on very easily, and he had to go all the way to the back of the field. So it's tough for him. Obviously, not the way he wanted his last race at Penske to go. Obviously, had a shot to win, and if not, have a good top 5 finish. Last team, I think we beat them into the ground this year, but we'll beat them into the ground one more time. And that's Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Their oval program is absolutely atrocious. From being on the last row of the Indy 500 2 years in a row, missing the Indy 500 last year, they just do not know how to compete at ovals. It seems like they just do not have the setup or what it is. But Devlin DeFrancesco again was the top finisher for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Rahal just was not competitive at all. And then the big black eye, I feel like, even though he won Rookie of the Year by 2 points, was Louis Foster. That incident with David Malukas and just that whole situation, being a lap down. At some point, IndyCar needs to implement some sort of ruling to get these guys out of the way of the leaders, because you can't run a leader like that. It's absolutely atrocious. He didn't even make the corner. He was never going to make the corner being that low on the racetrack. He had left side wheels below the yellow line. So to take out the second place, driver, and, obviously we can talk a little bit more about Malukas later, but just absolutely atrocious. It's just a horrible look for a lap down car to cause that sort of collision. And then on the winner's side, I actually put Scott McLaughlin on there just for, had he not got high and brushed the wall, he probably would have won this race, and he would have kept Newgarden out of victory lane, or it would have at least made it tough on Joseph. Connor Daly, most improved driver. Saturday, he was absolutely irate with the car. It was terrible. First practice didn't go well. Qualifying went worse. Second practice went just about as bad as the first practice. So they made some wholesale changes to that car overnight, and finished in top 5. So great ending to the season for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Felix Rosenquist, another top 10 for Meyer Shank Racing. Feel like that's a team that, Derik's been high on. I've been, talking about them quite a bit. Just kind of keep chugging along. Top 5, top 10s this year have been pretty good for them. Talk about Santino Ferrucci, David Malukas' teammate. David was great all weekend, and Santino just seemed a little bit off, but ended up finishing pretty well, and ran a good race and just kind of kept out of trouble. He's always been good on the ovals. I feel like that comes from his stock car background. Prema, for a season that has had a roller coaster of emotions, from Robert Schwartzman car catching on fire at Thermal. His first lap on the track was qualifying, to the pole at Indy 500. They've had a great year. Schwartzman lost out on the Rookie of the Year by 2 points. So overall, not a bad season. And then obviously Cal Milot finished 9th in the race. And the last driver I want to talk about is Rinus VeeKay. Another driver who has maybe the slowest oval cars is Dale Coyne Racing, and somehow Rinus VeeKay ended up finishing 13th in the race, made up quite a bit. So, those are my winners and losers this week. I'd love to get your guys' take on those.
I have no issues. I think you're kind of right along with the same way that I was thinking in my 5 takeaways in some ways. So I think you're spot on, and can't wait to have that segment back when we get things kicked off at St. Pete in 2026. Josh?
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you too much. The only thing I would say is, I think, you know what? No, I agree with you. I agree with you on everything. Now that I think about it, Foster, I was going to say something about Foster and, how he said after his press conference at the end of the year, when he was up there for Rookie of the Year, talking about what had happened earlier in the race. I kind of took his side of, he was trying to, yes, he may have been about a lap down, but he was chugging along, trying to keep, and, you don't want to just let people go by you, because then you're just a lap down and you're just, what's the sense in, but I can see your point where, at the end of it did cause an accident. Somebody ended up having to be flown out to a medical facility on a helicopter. So I guess I do see your point. So I don't disagree with any of it.
All right, we're going to take a break from talking a little bit, and let's go here for some drivers that actually participated in the race on Sunday. So first one we're going to have, actually, again, credit to Michael for this. We've had on the program or the show before, Miles Rowe, who was the winner of the INDYNXT by Firestone race on Sunday.
Miles, you talked a little bit about your line, and I seen that was pretty unique. Can you talk about that today?
Yeah, I was honestly really surprised with how the high line was working today. I mean, you could really run it really well. You could keep a nose up, and get some air in without really feeling like the car was going to do much. Even with the tire wear, 3 and 4 was more sketchy than 1 and 2. But with the right patience and timing, you could manage the platform and get through. A car length up high with honestly no problem. I think the driver tools and how I was messing with my bars to keep the platform and controlling the oversteer played a huge part. And yeah, I was honestly shocked with how it worked. But once I realized that you could do that, I just made sure to take advantage of it while other people weren't. And then good point on the dust on the tires, that played a key part. I wasn't as comfortable later, but then once that cleaned up, that opened up again. So I had fun learning all that today.
Is that a product of just get all you can get on a restarts?
I'm not sure. I went to the high side like I've done many times before, and I mean it's held all season long, but obviously it didn't today, which was unfortunate.
Thank you.
Well, we're trying to find the other clips. Just an awesome shout out to Miles Rowe once again for his getting his second win of the season in INDYNXT, and he's not going up to he's not going to go up to the NTT Series. He's got another year, but I see so much potential in that young man. He'll end up.
No, it just went. It was just like the tire test that I did last year. It just went. But this time it was the opposite side of the track. It's a real shame. I feel for the team. Obviously, they're hard hits for the driver that's in there, and it's pretty pricey to repair. So front right tire failure. You never want to have those. But hopefully Firestone looks into it and they do something for next year, because it's been an ongoing problem. It's not just been my car, but Hello had the same thing, and Power had the same thing, and other racetracks as well. So it's a positive feedback as much time as we can. But I think today is important to notice and to say that it's subpar to have a tire that is worrying to pop around 200-mile-an-hour corners. So I'm glad that I'm okay. Hopefully David's all right. But it's a shame to end the year like that when I feel like we have everything to close it out today.
Was there any indication of tires going down in practice this weekend?
The temperatures were getting up there, and everybody's kind of worrying about it. Is worrying about it. But it doesn't let you know when it's coming until it just decides to pop.
Is that the strongest you had driven on that tire this weekend?
No, I think I was around similar to the stint prior to that. It was the soft tire, but I was preparing a pass onto a lapper and circumstantial, but it's something that shouldn't even be a factor to play whenever you're going through traffic. So.
Final race, not what you expected, but coming back next year, how are you going to come back from this?
I love racing around this place. I really do. I've really enjoyed my year, but looking forward to coming back and giving it some hell in 2026 and challenging for that championship as we've done every single year. But we want to get closer and closer. So we're happy with second this year. We keep getting better and growing, but obviously work to do, and we'll be right there next year.
Thank you.
All right, as I finally figured out how to get that to play correctly again, huge thank you to Michael for running around and getting those, and I apologize to Josh for cutting him off, but it took me forever to figure out how to play that, but finally got it, and you could tell how irate, maybe is the right word there, Pato Award was with the tires that Firestone provided on Sunday. All right, looking at the final race results for this past Sunday's race, obviously Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin were your top three. Then they were followed by Kiffin Simpson, Connor Daly, Kyle Kirkwood, Felix Rosenquist, Santino Ferrucci, Callum Eilott, and Alexander Rossi rounded out the top 10. Then it was Colton Herta, Scott Dixon, Renus VK, Robert Schwartzman, Marcus Erickson, Stingray Robb, Nolan Siegel, Devlin DeFrancesca, Marcus Armstrong, and Louis Foster rounded out the top 20. They were followed by Will Power, Graham Rahal, Jacob Abel, Pato Award, Christian Lundgaard, David Malukas, and Christian Rasmussen rounded out the 27-car field. All right, we already know, obviously, the points. We'll look at those maybe one final time. Obviously, Alex Palou was crowned your 2025 Dixon, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Lundgaard, Felix Rosenquist, Colton Herta, Marcus Armstrong, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin rounded out the top 10. They were followed by David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden, Christian Rasmussen, Renus VK, Alexander Rossi, Santino Ferrucci, Kiffin Simpson, Connor Daly, Graham Rahal, Marcus Erickson rounded out the top 20. Then it was Callum Eilott, Nolan Siegel, Louis Foster, Robert Schwartzman, Stingray Robb, Devlin DeFrancesca, and Jacob Abel finished out the 27-car field. Fellas, listening to those interviews that Michael gathered this weekend, is there one you want to comment on, maybe particularly what Pato Award said?
You go ahead on this one, Michael. You were there listening to him, and you felt his intentions.
Yeah, I feel like for Pato, he was just disappointed in the tire failure. He frustrated with the Firestone's lack of, I don't know if it was lack of awareness or what, but it sounded like he had the issue in a tire test and then the same issue in the race. I don't know if it's his driving style or maybe the setup of the car, but as I stated earlier, he was the only one that really had the issue. I know Palou had an issue early on in the race. I would say maybe the track's not rubbered in all the way, but there was no rain over the weekend. So, if you noticed, Palou never had another tire issue. So, Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just a setup related issue for those cars because like I said, those were the only two cars that had the tire issue as far as the failures. So it could be a setup issue, could just be being too aggressive on the tire early on, like I heard a couple of the tire guys say. And then obviously, like I asked Christian Rasmussen the question about trying to get all you can on a restart or like the start of the race, and he kind of talked about it a little bit, but I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about that from him, just on the aspect of is it something that in the IndyCar series you have to go. And that's the big thing. If you notice, these guys are very aggressive on the starts and restarts. And then obviously Miles Rowe, Derik, I texted you during the INDYNXT race. I actually went over to the grandstands to watch the first half of that race up until the caution come out. And I texted you, I messaged you almost immediately and was like, that line Miles Rowe is running is absolutely phenomenal. And I told you he had a shot to win that race, and just by watching him and watching him just kind of work that line and be able to use the momentum of the racetrack to prevail the car around the corner was absolutely phenomenal. And I was lucky enough to be in the media center at that time when he was in there to ask him that question about that line. And actually seen him about 2 or 3 more times after that during the race weekend. So really cool to kind of meet him in person. I know he was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and then obviously to meet him in person was really cool. I stopped down before the race and talked to him, so that was really neat.
Yeah, definitely great interaction with all drivers that we had the opportunity to interact with all weekend. All right. I know this is the part of the show everybody has been waiting for, the race picks to see who took home the 2025 Race Picks Championship. Well, ladies and gentlemen, due to a clerical error by yours truly, yes, me, I know, I made a mistake. I know, surprise. We have a tie. And how we got to a tie was when I was adding these up with the 18 races that was on the schedule this year, somehow I was only coming up with a total of 17 wins. So before I made the graphic today, I went through and double-checked everything, and sure enough, there was one win that was not counted for Joy. So I don't know how we're going to do this, but Michael and Joy both had 5 wins this season in our race picks. So it's going to give us something to ponder on as we we close out season 3 of the Push to Pass podcast next week on fellas, what we're going to do to break this tie.
Well, I'm biased, Josh, so go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors, Spock. I don't know. I mean, they could, I don't know, draw straws, play a hand of poker. I don't know. Whatever you guys come up with.
Like I said, I'm biased, so I will stay out of this.
Taking the high road, I see. Taking the high. Okay, that wraps up our analysis and recapping of the race on Sunday. Like I said, just a quick synopsis for myself. A great weekend, great weather. Met a lot of interesting people. Obviously made some new connections, and you could potentially see going forward on the Push to Pass podcast in 2026, you may see some different faces come in here for interviews, maybe special guest hosts. We'll see. But definitely a lot of takeaways from this past year, a lot of different connections made, and definitely going to do what we can to level up here in 2026 right before we kick off the 2026 season at St. Petersburg. All right, before we get to our news and notes section, obviously, we do need to thank some people as we have all along the way this year. First and foremost, huge thank you to all of the sponsors on the Push to Pass podcast. First and foremost, Always Ready 1776. For all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, go check out Always Ready 1776. You can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And as always, if you do choose to purchase something from their store, make sure you use that promo code you see right there in the middle of your screen, Push to Pass, for 20% off of, 10% off of your order over at Always Ready 1776. Also, Gettum Associates for all your home design and remodeling needs. Remember, it's Gettum Associates, and you can find them on the web as well at gettum.com. And if you do choose to use their home design services, make sure you mention Push to Pass for $250 off any design service over at Gettum Associates. Last but certainly not least, Diane's Landscaping. If you are in the need of tree service, fertilizing, topsoil, grass cutting, garden cleanups, hedge trimming, garden weeding, lawn aeration, and so much more, go check out Diane's Landscaping. You can find them on Facebook just by searching Diane's Landscaping, or you can give them a call at 419-770-2332. That is Diane's Landscaping. But again, huge thank you to everyone that is a sponsor on the Push to Pass podcast from Always Ready 1776, Gettum Associates, and Diane's Landscaping. All right, fellas, one segment left to go. I know we've ran a little bit over than what we normally do on Tuesdays, but one last segment that I think is going to blow up here in the next few weeks, next few months. But it is a silly season that is getting kicked off. I guess got kicked off today. If you want to, say the first domino to fall, and this was kind of something that's been speculated for quite a long time, but obviously was made official today. Team Penske did announce, if you missed it, that after 17 years of driving for the captain, Will Power will depart the team prior to the 2026 season. Something I find interesting as I was reading their announcement today is it said that, and again, we know how sponsors like to transfer from one driver to another, but in the press release today, Team Penske did say that it will announce its plans for the number 12 Verizon Chevrolet at a later date prior to the 2026 season. Now, is that because they're contractual with Verizon until 2026, or is that sponsor going to be on whoever drives that number 12 car? A lot of speculation as to who that's going to be in 2026. But obviously, the 44-year-old Australian was recruited back in 2009. Yes, Josh was still in high school in 2009 when Team Penske owner Elio Castro, when Team Penske driver, not owner, driver, Elio Castroneves was forced to miss 2 early races due to some off-track issues, and Power filled in and apparently made a significant impression on the team. As for Power's future plans, there's nothing immediate or imminent, however you want to say it, but a lot of chatter as to where Power's going to end up, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But fellas, like we talked about in the open, and Josh said it best, a bittersweet ending to a career that has seen Will Power collect a lot of victories, 45. 2 NTT INDYCAR championships, 2014, 2022, and he has won Indianapolis 500 victory in 2018.
Yeah, what a ride! What a ride for Will Power at Team Penske. I don't know if any of you watched. Well, I know you two did, but the 100 Days to Indy. It was pretty much forecasted that this was going to happen. His wife once said she thinks he needs a new team. He needs new scenery, new landscape to go and look at. So I mean, we've been speculating all year long. He didn't have an extension to his contract. His contract was up this year. So I mean, there's a strong possibility of where he's going to go to. It's been widely speculated where he's going to go to, whose car he is actually going to fill. Somebody else is possibly going to leave the series to go on to another series overseas, but nothing's been made official yet. But it is bittersweet. I know it had the captain Roger Penske and Will probably sat down and went over possibilities, and probably they just came to an understanding that it was time for them, 19 years or so. It's time for them to move on to another. Wouldn't be 19 if he came on in 2009. It'd be 15 or 16, but however many years it is, it was better for them to mutually part ways, bring somebody else in, and on the. I would imagine that the Verizon car is probably contractually obligated through Penske and not to Will Power.
Oh yes, what a terrible day if you're a Will Power fan. And like I addressed earlier, that was the driver that I gravitated towards in 2009 when I started watching the IndyCar Series. Also, that's the same year I graduated. So, yeah, it's definitely bittersweet for sure. But there's definitely some news on the horizon that we'll find out sooner or later. Power kind of gave it a timeline of a few days. I don't know if that's when we were walking up pit road. I don't know if that's what he meant by just this announcement, or if he'll have other announcements in a couple of days as well. We'll see. There's a lot of speculation about what car he's going to, where he'll go. I've heard all sorts of crazy rumors. So until something's official, we'll just let Will say his piece. And on the Verizon front, yeah, I had wondered. We had talked about that too at Nashville. I wondered if Verizon would go with Power if they were able. It sounds like they are contractually obligated to be at Penske. Now, the interesting thing is who fills that car? Obviously, they could bounce Newgarden into that car, or McLaughlin into that car, or obviously we know the potential. The most likely candidate to fill Will Power's seat will be David Malukas. And that's something that Verizon may have a hand in. Maybe they want Malukas. Maybe they want, McLaughlin. Who knows? But there will definitely be news coming out, I would say, sooner rather than later on that car.
Well, let's talk about Rinus VeeKay and his departure from Dale Coyne, which Michael was on top of today. And then we'll talk about some rumblings that I heard, and Michael was trying to convey who my source was earlier. I mean, it's not mine particularly per se, but it is somebody within the IndyCar paddock. Michael, I will tell you that. But you were on it earlier today. Talk about Rinus VeeKay, his departure from Dale Coyne.
Yeah, I've been a big advocate for Rinus VeeKay just about all year. Just the guy that has so much potential, but just hasn't been able to show it, and definitely was able to show it this year at Dale Coyne Racing. Obviously, a team that has not been high up on the leader circle board or the point standings for a couple of years. VeeKay getting up into the top 15, had 2 top 5s this year. He announced today that he is leaving that team. No news was drafted on where he will be going, but with all the seat changes already, and where we'll see drivers, it's only a matter of time before that news is announced. I seen a chart on X earlier, and I'm not 100% sure who had it or who retweeted it or whatever about all the driver contracts, and there's asterisks around about 4 or 5 different drivers. So who knows what's actually going to happen, but there's a lot going on, and this silly season will be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Just the last thing I want to hear, contracts. But okay. Again, earlier today, and Josh may have heard the same thing. He may not have. But somebody within the IndyCar paddock did give out some information. Take it for what it's worth. Again, nothing is set in stone here. But there is, if this comes to fruition, there is definitely going to be a lot of movement here. Within, it could be the next couple of days, it could be the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we have a whole off season to discuss this. But as mentioned, Will Power leaving Team Penske. Obviously, it's documented, well documented. We talked about it today, how much Colton Herta wants to be an F1 driver. Well, Colton Herta goes to F1. Will Power sits in the Andretti seat. Sorry, F2. Will Power takes that Andretti seat in the number 26 and tears up the road and street courses next year. Okay, so with Will Power gone, that leaves the number 12 seat open. And as Michael just alluded to, and Josh, the hot name to fill that number 12 seat is obviously David Malukas. It's not any coincidence that AJ Foyt has a technical alliance with Team Penske. So Malukas fills the number 12 seat. Okay, so if Malukas fills the number 12 seat, who fills the number 4 at AJ Foyt? I have 2 names. One, Michael just talked about. He's looking for a payday, and he can bring the money and sponsorship in. Rinus VeeKay, he goes to the 4. Or the backup could be, if things don't fall right, Connor Daly. He has that AM/PM sponsor he brings to that number 4 seat. Now, that leads with Rinus VeeKay being not retained at Dale Coyne. That opens up the number 18. Well, Connor Daly's been talked about the number 18, or your current NTT INDYNXT by Firestone, Dennis Hauger. Or, again, we've talked about Marcus Ericsson potentially being on the move and getting bought out by Andretti. Dennis Hauger gets the number 28 seat. And then this is something that Michael alluded to over the weekend, not on this show, but in a private conversation with something that he heard through the paddock, that Prema may be a one and done. If they're not a one and done, there could potentially be a merger with Hukos Hollinger. So Prema brings one driver over. Hukos Hollinger retains a driver. So next year you could be looking at the number 77, and this is going to make Josh happy, of Stingray Robb. And driver of the number 78 is Robert Schwartzman. Again, there's no validity to this, just things you hear. And then also Joseph Newgarden, who won this past weekend at Nashville. Does he want to move to another Chevy team in 2026? And then there are two individuals that want to find their way back in IndyCar, and with all the movement that could potentially happen, and again, things have to happen and go the right way, the two names that want to come back to IndyCar in 26 if they find a ride, one, Roman Grosjean, we've talked about him before, and then Catherine Legg wants to come back in some sort of capacity as well. So that is the stuff that I heard today from somebody that is connected to the IndyCar paddock. Before we get out of here, fellas, you want to touch on that?
I mean those are all feasible things that could happen. That's why they call this thing the silly season. Sorry, they call this the silly season for a reason, because anything could happen. Those are all strong possibilities. I don't know about Catherine Legg coming back. That ship may have sailed unless Dale Coyne wants to go back to the race car by committee, or I'm going to throw a dart at the board and see who it lands on this week, like they did a couple years ago. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. Who stays, who goes. Prema and Juncos Hollinger teaming up together to make an alliance would make would make sense for Prema. They would team with someone that's been in IndyCar for multiple years, and they could learn from them. And going down to one car may actually help them, because I don't think that this was the year that they were expecting. I mean, other than the surprise pole at Indy, I don't think there was really any other bright spot besides maybe Schwartzman coming in second in the Rookie of the Year contest. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and how it all unfolds over the next 2 weeks.
Yes, some of those are interesting. I would agree that if for some reason Colton Herta does go to F2, Power would most likely and probably be the most experienced to put in that car. David Malukas to the 12. I don't know why that hasn't been announced already. Marinas VK to the 4 would be the most interesting for sure. I think that would be a great spot for him. It is the kind of that filler role. And you talk about Newgarden. He has a contract with Penske through 26. I think he's a free agent in 27. So that could be a stepping stone for Renus to go to the 2 car. I don't see any movement. I don't think Roger's going to let him out of the contract early. Now, maybe the one thing is that Newgarden just isn't happy with the new leadership. And that could be something as well that we don't know up in Penske Towers. He's just not happy with the leadership. Now that could drive him away, but I don't think Penske would let him out. Someone would have to buy them out, and I don't see another Chevy team that has the money except for one. And I would expect them to have the money, so maybe possibly, but that would be interesting because you bring a champion in and help develop your program a little bit, but I think you can dot the I's and cross the T's and figure out which team that would be. The 18, I've heard multiple names. Connor Daly is one. Dennis Hauger was one. Roman Grosjean was one. Another one was, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. There was another one out there. It was not Catherine Legg. That's the first I've heard about Catherine Legg coming back to IndyCar. I could see her running a 500 one-off for maybe like Rahal Letterman Lanigan if Sato doesn't want to do it. Maybe Sato goes to back to CGR to run it, or another team. But I don't, the Catherine Legg full time. I don't see part time 500 maybe. And then the Prema Juncos thing. I heard that Prema needed to find like roughly $40 million to keep going. So a merger or shutdown might be on the horizon. Stingray Rob, I think he has a contract through next year with Juncos. And you talk about Robert Schwartzman. I don't think he cares to be here. He's not sociable in the paddock. I just don't think he likes being here. So I would say the 78 would probably be Cal my lot if they want to retain those drivers. So that's where I would stand on those rumors and speculations going around right now.
We definitely have a lot to watch, and as the silly season got kicked off earlier today. All right, before we drop the checkered flag on another episode of the Push to Pass podcast, guys, anything else that you want to add or that we didn't go over that we may have missed here before we shut things down for this evening?
No, I mean it was a good season. I'm excited. I had fun this season, and looking forward to what comes in the future.
I would like to say that we went to Nashville and Josh talked a lot about bourbon, but I was the only one that drank any bourbon this weekend.
That is a very accurate and true statement. I can tell you, I was the only one this weekend that had tomato juice. So just so you know there. But again, huge thank you to everyone that tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Again, if you missed any of the show, you can go back on YouTube and check out the video, or if you you're an audio type person and you like listening to a good podcast, you can always go on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and all of the other podcast outlets to find the Push to Pass podcast. Also, a huge thank you to Don Cusick for joining us as well. Make sure you go back and check out that interview with him. A lot of tidbits that he dropped that are going to be coming out soon over at Cusick Motorsports. And then also, as always, huge thank you to both Josh and Michael for taking time out of your schedule on Tuesdays to talk IndyCar as we have one show left to go as we complete our third season here on the Push to Pass podcast. Again, we'll be back to wrap up the season finale of not only the 2025 NTT INDYCAR season, but again, as I said, season 3 of the Push to Pass podcast. Again, until Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So long, everybody.